What's going on, guys? BladeZilla here, and today we've got another cool one for you from Shirogorov. This is the 2024 F95 Zero. So this was released over, I think, last weekend by the time I put this out, if I can time things correctly. So this would just have dropped a few days ago, and we were able to get our hands on a stack of these to get up on the website. And, you know, they're probably on the site now, so I apologize if the timing of this doesn't work out perfectly, but there was not too many of these that became available right off the hop. So sit back, relax, grab yourself, you know, a Coke, a coffee, a whiskey, a beer, whatever you want, while we talk about and go over this new F95 Zero from Shirogorov. As a reminder, a lot of the knives featured on this YouTube channel are on my website, BladeZilla.ca, where we've got all kinds of cool stuff. Just added some Wingmans, some GTRs, Astrum CD, 111 CD, both custom visions. Pretty cool. So at the time of filming this, both of those are up. I don't expect them to last too long because there's only one of each. But of these, we got a fair amount, relatively speaking, compared to 1 and 1. But we're gonna take a look at this. Look at that bad boy, F95 Zero. Now, Zero has typically been, you know, a high-end offering. Doesn't really matter what version of it is, because we've had neon Zeros here, and I've got one of those beside me that I've used in a lot of comparison videos. But Zero typically means zero milling, or just plain Jane. That's kind of how I've approached it. But it's all the high-end build components, so multi-row bearings, M390 blade, back spacer, internal milling, or skeletonization, which is kind of quickly over time on this guy slowly changed from a real nice thick F95 Zero. The blade stock was much thicker, and now we've got a little more compact version of it here. So let's start things off with some measurements, and then we'll go into detail. But right away, this feels very much like the Gen 5 F95. With the lack of the inlay, which is cool. That's not a bad thing at all. That's a great thing. So, all right, let's start off here. Overall length, 8 3/4, roughly, with a blade length of 4 inches to the center of the choil, or 95 mils sharpened. That's what it should be. Handle length of 4 3/4, looks like. About that. So, big knife, full size. How that compares and stacks up to other Shirogorov knives. Well, in the model family, we know we have the little baby, the little neon, and we know that we have one guy that goes in between this, and then in that middle sweet spot we have the stellar. So neon, stellar, F95, or quantum, depending on how you want to size things. And remember, if I flip these two around, we'll get a substantial difference in perceived size based on the angle of the camera, primarily. So I should actually probably use a neon light as a comparison, because, you know, it'd be flat stonewash, it'd make for a cool pick. But we're not going that route. So F95 Zero, stellar, and neon Zero. Pretty cool little comparison, as we can kind of see, of the F95 and the neon. Pay attention to that blade shape if it wants to focus. Come on. This little nose here, that little kick down. It's also found on the neon, which is pretty cool. That little nose up here, little bevel, pretty cool. Whereas it's not found on the stellar. Different blade shape altogether. Very usable. But those are the 3 sizes for Shiro. We also have a 111, which is even bigger than the F95. And that one has not been in production now for about a year in the OEM side. So hopefully with a little luck, we have some more of those soon. In terms of the F95, though, like I said, that beautiful nose on that blade just looks so cool. A little tiny bevel. It's more rolled on this version. And you know what? Why don't I grab an F95? I think I've got a purple right here right now. And let's just take a quick peek at these two, because if I'm looking at the current market of Shirogorov and I'm looking to spend the same kind of money, it's like, well, what one would I buy? and it's probably between these two. So a Gen 5 NL, and I don't know if we're calling this a Gen 5 F95 Zero, but I'm going to call it that. So blade shape wise, I think we are completely identical. Am I missing something here? If it wants to focus, come on, man. I think we're looking at the same blade. I'm just going to put these down here. I think. Same action, very similar overall. They both have that little window up top here, which I love. You will have seen that in a lot of the other NL videos. I just did a Blade Show Edition video on that. I've done, geez, olive, gold, purple, black, I believe. So same blade across the line, same captive pivot system, same bearing system. I'm curious the weight. Oh man, that feels great. Curious to see the weight, but more of a stone wash instead of kind of a polished stone wash. So very standard. This is going to go well in your pocket and kind of wear nicely over time because that stone wash just hides any imperfections. But we still get that high performance milling that's found on the top and bottoms of the handles. And hopefully you can see this if you're watching in 4K. It's harder to pick up otherwise, but there's very, very nice milling found on the handle here. It catches the light. It just looks fantastic. The Shirogorov Bear as well is found on the handle. And that's etched right in there, which is beautiful because I always say I'm not a big fan when you have anything on the blade itself. I know that they'll always put the material on the other side here, so in this case M390 or S90V or whatever. But I've always liked when they put the bear on the handle and the blade material when they hide it back here, like they do on some of the custom divisions, but we can't win it all. The main takeaway from this, and I'm filming this, I don't have a spec sheet in front of me, so I'm not exactly sure, so we're going to kind of pick up on some things together. I'm curious to see that blade width. It has thinned down, and if I'm looking at this with my eyes correctly, I think we're the same blade width, which looks to be 3.5 mils. If I remember on the NL was 3.5, but they look the same. We've got either the same or very similar frame widths as well. I might say that the F95 Zero might be a little fatter. It might not actually, it might be the exact same. This is where a pair of calipers would actually be quite helpful. Because when you're looking at the NL, you're going to say, oh, it looks a little wider, but I don't think it is. It's just those inlays kind of sticking off the side, as you can tell. Very, very cool. That back spacer, let's take a look there. Not only do they look to be identical, but they both have the same finish to them, which is kind of a darkened stonewash tie. Looks real sharp. Same hardware found throughout. Same location of the bear, and let's take a look at those clips. Are they identical as well? Same clip, just a little bit different on the finish on the flats. And reminder, I believe the F95 Zero is a little bit less expensive because you're not putting those technocarbon inlays in, which requires a little bit more work. But you're getting identical knives either way. And if it was my money picking up one of these guys, as you know, I've always mentioned on the channel for the last year, I like plain Jane tie with a little milling, good solid steel, and that's my jam. I've been EDCing a neon light for the last little while, as well as my reliable Monkey Edge Quantum, which is actually in my hiking bag right now instead of beside me, but I have basically the same knife here in the E-Knives Quantum type thing. You know, that's my jam. I just love plain Jane tie with you know, solid multi-row bearings. That's my jam. And that's exactly what this knife is. It's not screaming at you, it's not loud, it's just super subtle, and it's going to be timeless. It's going to be the knife that 10 years from now, you know, when, geez, they probably keep thinning things down, you know, that it's like, hey, remember the time when I had that, you know, 10-year-old F95 and it just keeps on ticking. You know, M390, it's been sharpened a dozen times. It's still a beautiful knife. And that'll be this. They're going to be workhorses. You know, I've got some friends who've already landed some of these, and they're starting to carry them and use them as work tools because, you know, you're not going to hurt M390 and you're not going to damage, you know, stonewash tie. It just looks so good. We're going to get some weights on this as well while I have it at top of mind, because I'm kind of curious to see with all that skeletonization if we can get around that 4-ounce mark. So let's see. Any guesses? And I've got that other purple one here we can weigh as well, just to kind of compare. May as well. Let's see. 4.8. 4.8. So a little heftier, I believe. Let's take a look at the NL. 4.5. And typically the weight savings that you're getting there is because I believe they hollow out underneath those scales pretty hard, which is technocarbon probably weighs lighter than titanium, so that makes sense to get to a 0.2 difference of an ounce, which is pretty minimal. But so you're definitely over the ounces and inches ratio, and remember, if it's a 4-inch knife, you want to be around 4 ounces. 3.5-inch knife, you want to be 3 ounces, 3.5, sorry, etc. So you want them to match. So we're over top of that. Balance-wise, I'm just behind the pivot, and it's hanging nicely. That's beautiful. Fit in hand feels just like the F95, although, or sorry, the NL. I'll keep referring to that as the F95, and this is the Zero. This does feel a little thinner, surprisingly. But at the same time, also not surprising, because you get the added depth of about 1 mil that sticks out and contours to your hand a little bit. It's a different feel, right? Because remember, this is raised on one side at the top and lowered on the other on the scale. So you get a little grip to it that way. Whereas on this guy, we've got parallel handles, more classic. So you don't get the same width feel. It just feels like an F95. Beautiful. There's literally nothing wrong with that. As we kind of go around the frame as well, we can see all the beveling and contouring. The lock bar is raised. I like to always show that. So this side here, that being the lock bar. If I roll the knife, see how it sticks up from the other frame side? And that's so your thumb can just fall in there, land on that nicely beveled edge, and unlock, lock, etc. Super simple. Very comfortable. Like, this is literally a timeless classic, guys. This is not going to ever go out of style. It's going to have parts availability for years to come, and it's not going to look ridiculous 25 years from now or out of place. You know, I've got that F95 custom division knife here that goes way back. And there you go. Tell me what looks out of place here about this knife. This is old. Like, literally nothing. And back then they used to actually hollow out the entire scale insides and just kind of cap it with carbon, whereas now they're doing both. It's just crazy. The inside of this, I'll grab my little light here so we can take a look, and then we'll come back to that lock bar. You can see all the skeletonization on the inside of this. It's just beautiful. A work of art. You know, at this price point, you're really not getting too many knives that even kind of comes close in the level of craftsmanship, reliability, durability, and design. Just beautiful. There's also going to be probably some Easter eggs inside here. I always like to see what those are. But when you do open one of these guys up, you could use a custom division tool, you can use a pen tool, you can use a standard Shiro tool, or a screwdriver, which I probably wouldn't recommend, but you can get away with it, or a penny, or a credit card folded on itself so you don't mar up the hardware. But these ones are going to be the more bigger problem because they're a little smaller. I would just say if you're going to spend $1,000, $1,200 US on a knife, just get the tool when they come available. You know, I have stocked them in the past, and every opportunity I get, I definitely try to carry them because they're just so practical. But back to the lock bar. We do have an over travel stop / lock bar insert on the lock bar, and I still don't know what steel is being used here, but remember that steel is used to tune between the frame and the blade itself, so M390, S90V, etc., or titanium. I guess sometimes we're using even aluminum now on some, not Shiros, but etc. other models. So in this case, titanium and M390, they put a steel in the middle there that will likely wear before either of those do, so that you don't get any lock rock or stiction or anything like that. Just a beautiful knife. One of my all-time favorites is the F95, as you know. If you watch the, geez, that video turned out to be almost an hour long, the recent CDX video, which is done pretty well. You'll know I love the F95, and this is every bit the CDX as the CDX in fit in hand, comfort. Speaking of comfort, jimping, same on both knives, the NL and this, which matches that. Maybe I'll hold it like this so we can see both. Matches the spacing on that backspacer, which looks beautiful. Nice little touch. Still have that nice window on the blade. I call it the window. Kind of looks like the cockpit of a fighter jet, which I love. On the blade itself, it's kind of got that pinched bevel. It goes down both sides, but still flat on top, and then expands out towards the tip. That's what she said. So that it just provides a little extra strength on that M390 blade. The milling on the clip, also beautiful, as I've kind of touched on a little bit. You know, micro milling, even on the lock bar itself. Hopefully the camera can pick this up. It's a little tough to actually show, but inside here is all micro milled. It just looks so good. Matches the clip, bottom of the frame. Looks so good. Then you have little spots on the knife that I just love, like the beveling around is rounded as we go down the frame. And then as we kind of go towards the end where the hardware kind of comes out, they go, you know what, we could easily just maintain this bevel, but we want to add strength in this area so that we don't have a problem and crack the frame. So they just set up the tooling to do that. Like, they don't have to, but they do. And that's just so cool. Same with on the other side, right? Where they put on the little screw there. They've built up that little spot, you know? It's just smart engineering. We do have a spot for a lanyard hole as well. And I love from the side, I always like to show this. You know, on the Stellar, for example, you see through the knife where the lanyard would go through here. And it's a little offsetting to the eye. Some people don't like it. I could really care less. But on this guy, they built it into that backspacer. So, it just makes a lot of sense. It's kind of just tucked away in there so that if you do want to add some, you know, paracord or some leather or whatever and hang some Shiro beads, you know, absolutely do that. Pretty cool. Fit in hand, remember I am a size extra large glove. Beautiful fit. My thumb lands right on the jimping, and I still have room for the bear to breathe on the bottom there. Or if I want to wear work gloves, I could easily, you know, have lots of room and use the knife comfortably. The beauty of this design of the F95 is there's no sharp edges on any of the contouring here. So whether you want to slide down a little bit around, you're not spreading your fingers with an angled gap on the handle. Just quite nice and comfortable. Just a classic, timeless, legendary design. That's one of my favorites. One of my all-time favorites. Bearings are super smooth. Didn't even check the centering, but it's a Shiro. You don't usually have to check the centering. We're spot on. And they just break in over time and become excellently smooth and comfortable and beautiful. The only thing is I wish they numbered them. Being production, they don't need to number them, but it would be nice to have an idea of how many of these are made and get a customized number on the inside that is representative of something, because a lot of the boxes have a serial number on it, but it's just a SKU. And then inside, I believe there's a manufacturer date code that's written in there, but it'd be kind of cool to have a serialized plate inside or something. That'd be nice. But, you know, sometimes that depreciates the brand, so I get it. Beautiful knife. Absolutely beautiful. Solid. I don't know why, you know, given that it's the same dimensions as the NL, it just feels more solid. It's just so strange to me. If we're looking at them, like I said, it's just same manufacturer, same design, different finish, obviously. Really, really dig the NL. And, you know, I guess if you guys like the NL, the beauty of it is that it's perfectly imperfect, right? With this Techno-Carbo inside. Just balances the light around and looks so good in different angles and lights. But it'll always be purple or gold or black or olive or etc. Whereas this guy, same dimensionally, it'll always just be stonewashed high. You can scratch it, your keys can go inside and not dig into anything. And it'll just look timeless for years to come. And that's the appeal to me on these. It's a beautiful knife. One of my favorites manufacturers. Just absolutely stunning all around. We're lucky to have these in the store. And I think there's going to be some really happy people who are able to land some of these. Because it's just so good. What else have I missed here? So I talked multi-row bearings, captive pivot system, talked about the tool. Multi-row bearings, it's written inside the top of the flipper, I believe, right here. I can't see it, but we're going to try to shine a light in there. Should be MRBS right in front of my fingernail here. Multi-row bearing system, and that's their legendary kind of bearing system. Instead of a bearing on a track in a circle with balls kind of around, it's pinwheeled, right? So you get 3 balls in a row on this model, 2 on the Neon, but kind of looks like the rays on a pinwheel. So pretty cool. From there they do obviously roller bearings, which are like the rays of a sun on a needle bearing, and then double row roller bearings, which are on their full customs, and are as good as you can imagine. But multi-row bearings feel incredible, super reliable, drop shutty, controlled Shiro float drop shutty, I should say, in that you can park it at ridiculous angles and the knife won't fall, but a little shake and it'll drop. So really nice and controlled, but you can tune that as well with pressure from the pivot. If you want it to just literally fall, you can do it. Another beautiful knife, and you know, if you ask me, I think this is definitely an improvement on the last F95 Zero, because it just has the thinner blade stock, 3.5 mil, which is more common, which kind of pulls the whole knife together that much tighter, and less weight. Just feels strong, feels tight. Everything just feels great on this. Absolute legendary knife, and really happy to have these. One of my all-time favorites, and I get asked for these and 111s all the time. So hopefully we'll have some more of each soon here, but for the time being, 95 Zeros going in the store probably a day or two before this video drops. So yeah. Alright guys, appreciate you stopping by, checking out the F95 Zero from Shirogorov. An absolute beautiful knife. And if you have any questions, leave them below. Otherwise, like, subscribe, share, visit the store, BladeZilla.ca. Add me on Instagram, TikTok, send me a note. At the end of the day, I just want to chat knives. It's my passion, love it. And otherwise, have yourselves a fantastic rest of the week. Or if you're starting the week off, have a great week or weekend, etc. And we'll talk soon. Alright guys, later. Peace.